Welcome to De-Stress Your Business, the podcast where we show you how to get incredible results in your business without constant stress. I'm Alexis Kingsbury, a serial entrepreneur and founder at AirManual. And I'm joined by my co-founder and co-host, Paddy Mann. Morning, Paddy.
Good morning.
Morning. So at AirManual, we help business leaders to set life-changing goals. Yes, the work we do will have a huge impact on business success, but our greater purpose is about the impact on people. For example, we help leaders to spend more time on the tasks that they love and less on the ones that they hate. We also make it possible for business owners to take 4-week plus holidays when perhaps they've never even been able to take them before. And we help employees and by giving them the resources that they need to thrive and love their jobs. So in today's episode of De-Stress Your Business, we're going to look at our own life-changing goals for 2023 and then challenging you to set your own. So, Paddy, this is a great question as we enter 2023. What's your life-changing goal?
Well, that's a great question. And actually, my life-changing goal relates more to you, as it happens. Something we do with all the businesses we help is we look to identify the biggest opportunity, the biggest way that we can improve the business and the lives of the people within it. And for me, if I was just to kind of think within my own little silos, then I could easily pick out a few challenges where I want to optimize stuff in marketing and so on. It'll make my life easier and so on. But actually, there's a bigger area causing some challenge in our business right now. And that, as I say, it relates to you. So one of the things that happened very nicely last year was that we've grown as a business. And that's introduced some new challenges. And whereas we were working very well with all the resources that we had in the first 3 quarters, as we got into that final quarter, we found that you're getting really, really stretched on sales. And so, as I'm sure you'll share, I am sure you will share in a moment, that's causing you some challenges and pain and affects you individually and your family and everything else. But it also has some kind of wider impact. Now we're becoming reliant on you for some of those tasks. As for any task in our business, we always try very hard to make sure you're not a complete dependency. So it is possible that I can take over any of those tasks. And that's great because it means that the business isn't going to fall over if you're not available. However, my concern is that if you become unavailable, I'm going to be the person that's going to be stepping in. And that is going to cause me significant grief because I'll be taken away from the tasks that I love to do tasks that I don't enjoy as much and don't get as much energy from myself. And I know that it's going to slow down other areas of the business that I need to be working on and that we need to be moving forward. So the life-changing goal for me is actually to get you into a better position where you're not so heavily relied on as a key person for this activity of having all these sales calls with specific people that we're trying to move forward. So that's my goal. Is it the same for you? And how does it feel?
Yeah, that's an awesome one. I think I would agree that that's an area that it's been a good problem to have, right? Like often the nature of business and life in general is that by successfully accomplishing one goal, or overcoming a problem, your prize is a new problem to overcome. And in our case, one of the biggest challenges for us in 2022 was more around marketing. It was creating awareness of what we're doing and being able to communicate that message in an effective way and in a way that was sufficiently clear enough that people could kind of get on board and start to have conversations with us. And I feel like, that took a huge jump forward in 2022 to the point that, as you say, the sales side and pipeline management became the kind of new challenge. And so the processes that because we did have, did and do have processes in place to manage that. But I think you're right that it's we're doing it at another level now, and that's required me to have to wade in and get more involved again. And so there's an opportunity for us to change that, and that's something we've been working on back end of 2022 anyway, and it's something that we've kind of been making progress on and designing. But I agree that there's so much more that can be done to be able to deliver those results, and ultimately, as you say, make the sales side easier to run and not take up the time and reduce the risk in it if I'm not available or whatever, but also make it so that I'm freed up to do some of the other activities that I'm more uniquely qualified to do, perhaps versus other members of the team. So, what are the steps that we're going to take to address this?
Cool. I'll answer that question in a second, because I think it would be useful just to kind of emphasize some of the stress points that we are feeling and how it actually feels, because it's easy to kind of glaze over it and go, okay, there's this problem in the business and it's something we can do, but we're talking about it as a life-changing goal. And I think I've probably underplayed that a little in some of the ways it's affecting me and the team. And it'd probably be useful just to kind of share how that actually feels for you, and some of the events that have kind of happened and how that affects you and your family. So one of the bits that I can say I've underplayed is just, as a result, you're busy, and we're loving it. We want to see Alexis going out there, talking to business leaders, doing presentations, doing workshops. It's where he's in his zone, where he really thrives for himself, for the business. We see that he's happy. We see great results. We get a big pile of new leads and demos coming into the business of people that have heard great stuff and are lined up perfectly. But so there's a couple of things is that it can get to the point where Alexis has to stop doing that for a period, and there's a kind of reliance there, and it causes us concern that there's this risk. It's also that there's a bottleneck, and it hurts because we need that bottleneck to be dealt with. We need Alexis to be passing things through, but it also hurts because Alexis has other responsibilities in the business. He leads the rest of the sales team. He needs to be supporting the marketing. He needs to be supporting finance, HR, exec as a business owner. I need to get his time to review various things that we're doing to improve the processes, including the processes affecting the sales. And when it gets to the point where he's this stretched, and particularly if other things get thrown into the mix, like getting sick, which may have happened just before Christmas, suddenly we can go an extended period without talking to each other, and that causes immense stress and pain as we get out of sync. And honestly, you get days where you kind of dread work, or you feel like you're not 100% sure that you're moving in the right direction, and that I hate that. Or where I've committed a huge amount of time, but I need some feedback, I need some challenge. And I know Alexis is one of the best people to give it, and I would know that it will need to go through him and get his views based on his own experience. And I kind of get blocked, and that causes a lot of pain and frustration, as well as that kind of underlying fear, that risk of, oh no, what happens if he becomes unavailable for longer? So that's some of the pain that I'm kind of feeling. And I know the team feels that, because I get first dibs on Alexis's time when he does become available, so they're behind me in the queue. What about you? How does that pain actually materialize?
Yeah, so for me, I think that in general, I'm good at managing my work-life balance. So it's not like many years ago where, and I've shared publicly and in podcast interviews and so on, that there have been times in my life where I've not managed the work-life balance very well, and a very long time ago, talking sort of 11 years ago, almost to the point of losing my soulmate. Fortunately, didn't, and now my wife over 10 years, and we've got two wonderful children. But that it wasn't always perfect, and hasn't always been perfect. But generally, I'm pretty good at managing that, making sure that I'm not damaging those relationships, and then getting lots of time. That said, what tends to be the outcome of when I'm pulled in lots of different directions, and lots of business leaders end up in this position, where because you've got to do so many things, your day gets very full. And so even if you're good at time blocking and protecting your weekends and evenings and so on, which many business leaders struggle with, but it's something that I've tended to get pretty good at, even then, being that unavailable throughout the day and having a day quite so frenetic, like if I, prior to the end of the year, there are literally days where, I start at the beginning of the day with a call at 9, and I've got back-to-back all day until 5:30 without a break, or maybe I'm getting half an hour for lunch and that's it, and the rest of it is back-to-back calls. Now, I've tended to find that that's okay for me in terms of my personal energy rhythm. Like, some people would just go, oh my God, I'm on 2 or 3 hours on Zoom calls, like I couldn't cope. I don't tend to have that problem. However, what I do find is that it can feel quite frenetic, and particularly when I then feel like I'm not able to get other tasks done and supporting other people, or being able to support my family, that can feel that way. In fact, today's perhaps a funny example, because the kids are off for one more day before they go back to school, and despite the fact that Sasha's done me a little sign saying, do not come in, which I've put on the door. Both of them came in earlier, and I had to give them clear hand signals. It's like, no, read the sign, go. I want to be able to be with them and be able to be called upon when needed, and so on. So I think that those are some of the ways in which it can impact me personally, is when I've just got a frenetic day, that has repercussions in terms of what it means for my personal life, and what it means for how I show up and spend time with team members, particularly, as you say, those that kind of unfortunately are further down the list, because I'm able to provide less discretionary time and coaching and support and so on than I would like. I think also it means that I'm less able to do the as you kind of mentioned, the more either creative or challenging work that often helps us to drive the business forward. It's I was interviewed on a podcast which by Hakeem on his hands-on business podcast, and we talked about the nature of business leaders often want to have very creative businesses, or to be able, or to avoid reducing the creativity in their business. But actually, the myth or the mistaken thinking is to think that, if I put in structure, whether it's processes and roles and so on, that will reduce the creativity. But the reality is that creativity can't appear if you're having to spend all your time sending invoices, sending quotes, dealing with sales queries, having back-to-back calls all day or whatever. You haven't got that space for that creativity. And so if you want to create that in your business, and as a business leader be able to spend time on the areas in which you can add the most value, you kind of need more time freed up. So yeah, for me, both personally with my family, and also my ability to support team members, including my co-founder Buddy, but also in terms of ability to drive the business forward, it makes a huge difference if we're able to pull me again away out of that kind of sales area where we had done, and then demand and complexity pull me back in. So is that sufficient? Anything else to dive into before we look into the steps to address this?
No, I think that's great, and it's in line with what we will see with our other customers, and often they'll be feeling it to a greater extent because we've been through this cycle 100 times. But you feel that pain personally, and it affects your ability to do things you love. It affects your team and holds them back in different ways, and often you feel a sense of guilt around that. It affects your family and your relationship, and often there can be levels of guilt. And as you mentioned earlier in your career, it could have had a much more devastating impact. And yeah, it's these multiple levels, and it's easy to kind of just go, okay, it's fine. But if you could remove those pains, if you could open up that freedom and that space so that you are there, so you have got the time between meetings to go and see your family next door, it changes your life. It's a life-changing goal.
Yeah, agreed. And I think one of the reasons that we're sharing in this episode is to highlight it is all relative and it is cyclical. It isn't the case that you solve an area for your life and that's it, done forever. It is, it's the nature of it is that the game is you're just making improvements, and the things that were causing a problem before, maybe they don't cause a problem, but you have new problems, or maybe there's just an opportunity to improve it. So, whether it's work-life balance, as you say, we've had customers, that have literally been running their business 5 years and been unable to take a holiday. And so the life-changing goal that essentially we've been setting with them when we work with them is get them to a point that that the business is not so dependent on them as the owners that they can't step out even for a few days or a few weeks, and getting them to the point where they're able to take their first few holidays and so on. I'm thinking of Design in the Shires. We're a great example of that. Husband and wife couple run the business and hadn't taken a holiday, and then were able to. But also Darren at Royven Dog Hotels, where I think last year he was able to take 3 holidays, having previously been unable to take any at all, and be able to trust and see that the business was able to run effectively and provide great care to the dogs and so on. So I think it is all relative and it is cyclical, because next year, the following year for Darren, it doesn't mean, oh well, that's it permanently forever. It might be that he wants to reduce his hours, or it might be that he wants to be able to take 4 holidays, or just be able to repeat that again, or whatever it is. But I think it's useful to do that. So let's say, for us, but also for anyone listening, you set your life-changing goal, the thing that's causing you either most frustration or the thing that's going to provide a big opportunity. What next? What steps would we take to address this?
Cool. So this is something that we've been turning into essentially our approach for how we support all our customers, and we're going through it ourselves. The first stage is around focus and making sure we're clear on the goal. So as I said at the start, I could have identified loads of small improvements I could be making in marketing and other areas of the business. But if I had done that, we'd have struggled to make time to see the whole thing through, because there was a bigger challenge, a bigger thing holding us back. And so getting that initial goal right and doing it one that would make the biggest impact for both the business and for the individuals, and it'll make a huge impact for the business, was key. And then we look at, okay, which essentially which job roles would be impacted, which job roles do we need to be able to understand and get clarity on, so that we're able to start in future kind of delegating, or at least systemizing and improving the processes. So we identify which roles are involved. In this case, we're looking at in doing that exercise where we identified, okay, previously we just had the idea of an inbound sales rep, and now we're identifying new roles which will need to exist in future, including SDRs and BDRs. And we are looking at, okay, what guidance do these people need? So the second stage after focus is outline. We create an outline of what guidance will we need for the people in these roles. And this isn't about getting everything written down in detail. It's about taking a kind of 1 hour to do a high level overview of, okay, what will we need in the long term, so that we're not just creating ad hoc documents that appear here and there, and it becomes a mess and impossible to manage. That we're able to create a structure, and of course we do that within AirManual. So creating that outline, and then we're moving on to actually making the improvements, actually documenting, prioritizing which content needs to happen first, documenting the guidance that we need, which will initially be very, very high level, just as we're starting to test it, and then testing it. And actually, before we get anywhere near kind of actually delegating any of it, a lot of these new checklists, new processes that we're creating are the kind of for sales conversations. They are looking at how to take what Alexis is doing in his head and telling people stories and taking them through that journey, and working out how can we turn that into a checklist which anyone can do. And sometimes it's just a checklist, and sometimes we realize we need some supporting resources and other bits to make it all work. But we're creating that content and then we're testing it to see, does it actually work? Because there's no point documenting what sounds good, chucking it over the fence and hoping that someone more junior is going to be able to run with it. It's not going to happen. What we need to do is go, Alexis can do it on his own, but can he create a model which even he can follow his own steps, what he's documented, and get consistent results again and again and again? Because when he has, and it doesn't take, one thing is it won't happen perfectly first time, I guarantee that, but it doesn't take that many iterations to get that to a point where it does work. Then we're in this beautiful position where we can delegate it, and we'll be looking at both how to use our existing team and about how to train those people up to take on these conversations. But also, as I mentioned, we're looking at other roles that are kind of new and may use a different set of skills, and particularly as we've been growing so quickly over the last year, the existing people in other roles are kind of approaching their own capacity. We'll be looking at hiring, and when we're in that position of hiring, it's going to be incredibly easy to do. I say that having been in a position where we haven't done this for other roles in the past. If I go back 5 years, we would not have done all this prep work and understood the role before hiring them in. Now we're going to be really clear on exactly what their responsibilities are, exactly what good looks like, and we're going to have this guidance ready to go so that we're able to get them up and productive and delivering results really, really quickly. That's a process that we're going through internally, and also the one that we would be taking our own customers through. So definitely worth reaching out for more guidance on how to see that through if this is something that you're starts to sound appealing for 2023.
Yeah, indeed. I love that. And I think it's been really interesting, I think, as we've kind of iterated on this approach, both internally and with our customers, how the clarity of actually starting sort of boiling down what's the focus, what's the problem, what's the thing you want to achieve, and boiling down to what is the role, and there might be multiple ones, but where's the priority in the initial focus role that you're going to start with, and how and then going through, as you say, the series of steps to work out how to get that in place and really effectively. And it's still iterative, right? It's still that you might, we've got a client who, for them, they're looking at recruitment as being an area that's been a challenge for them, and they want to improve, and they want to improve their onboarding and so on, and they've just hired or hiring a new head of HR, and so they're initially thinking of it as, oh, well, it's the HR role. But then, of course, you might say, well, actually, if you want to be more focused on the problem that you've got, it's probably the recruitment role that might sit within that head of HR's responsibility and still be something that they do. And so, and even if you then did that and said, okay, we're going to focus on that recruitment role as part of a head of HR, as that business grows, it might be that you get to a point, well, actually, that's a separate role to the head of HR, and where do they sit, and so on. And I think, in the same way as for sales, you might have a broad sales role, and then you split it out into outbound or inbound, or account management, or whatever it is. And it's an iterative process which starts with, exactly as you say, starts with the focus, starts with what is the biggest problem or the biggest thing we want to achieve, and then, as you say, go through the process of outlining and then prioritizing and putting things in place. And the nice thing is that it's rare that people have got nothing existing in any form, even if it's just in someone's head. In fact, I think the mistake is when people try and hire and put people into roles and so on for things that they haven't worked out how to make work yet. In fact, I was talking to a client recently who had previously essentially set up virtual assistants who they were paying like £33 an hour to do their sales and marketing, but they hadn't worked out any of the roles and the processes and the guidance, and as a result felt that, and the way that she expressed the problem was, I feel like I probably went a bit too high end, I'm more too sophisticated, and I was spending too much on this resource. And I think I actually thought and shared that I thought the reverse was true, or, not that she needed to go higher end, although possibly, but actually it's that she was handing over and trying to set up a role, a department, a series of people who could do something that she hadn't yet worked out how to make it work and give them the guidance and so on. And so as a result, at any price, it wouldn't have worked. the key was first setting that up and then being able to bring in VAs or hire people or whatever it is to be able to do it. And we've done that multiple times now with multiple businesses of our own, in addition to helping clients. And as I say, it's an iterative process where we've now got the new challenge of next level of scale, right? Where we're kind of going to the next level. So that's really, really cool. Awesome. So we've kind of alluded to it, but where should others start in terms of if they want to make progress with this and so on? Because this can feel a big area, you know, essentially talking about setting and achieving your life-changing goals for the next year.
Yeah, well, interestingly, you say it's a big area. It is definitely something which is going to take you more than 5 minutes. But when we take people through this end-to-end process of setting their life-changing goal and then seeing it through to getting that impact, it's normally less than 10 hours of working with us. So it can be an incredible kind of return on your time invested. The very first step is it has to be around that focus, around setting the goal, because the moment, as I kind of alluded to earlier, the moment that you pick a kind of a week goal, like we're just going to set up documentation for this area, or we're going to help this person, but it's not really where your business priorities are right now, and you make the assumption it's like, okay, well, I want to improve processes and our business priorities around improving the marketing over here, but I don't want to touch the marketing with the processes. That's going to get messy, so I'm going to do it in a different area. That doesn't work, because your business priority is sorting the marketing. You got to put the focus of where you're going to be using process to help in the same place that you're putting the rest of your focus, the rest of your energy. And so hopefully this kind of this episode and a few tidbits I'll give in a moment will help you to do that goal, but also really valuable to get someone else to bounce ideas against. And it's something we offer for free as a call. So if you have a discovery and demo call, on that call, you'll be talking to a consultant. You'll get the chance to talk to an expert about what would your goal be? How would you set that? So I personally highly recommend that. It's literally free. On that conversation, so we'll be looking at, okay, what are your current goals? What are the business trying to do? Do you have any kind of life-changing goals? And are these things that you're expecting to see an impact on in the near future? Because kind of a second mistake that a lot of people make is to go, okay, I've got my business and it's going to give me freedom, financial freedom, and I'm expecting to get there in, maybe 1 year, probably 3 years, possibly 5 years. And unfortunately, that's not a great starting point. The reality is it will probably take way longer than you think, and it's not really acceptable for you to sacrifice your life during that time. You will put yourself open to burnout. You will put yourself open to divorce if you've got a wife. There's so many bad things that can happen if you're not managing it in the here and now. And so we would be saying you should be to any of these goals you're setting. You should be looking to get that impact within 3 months. And we said it's our life-changing goal for 2023, but frankly, we're trying to get this solved in the next few months, and then we'll be setting a new goal. So given that, when you think about, okay, what could this goal be? Some questions that we'll be using with our own clients and leads that are coming in to help them think about possible areas would be, okay, what would it feel like if you could spend less time on the tasks that you loathe, that you hate, that drain your energy, and spend more time on the tasks that you love and that are the reason that you set up your business to do what it does in the first place? What if you could put an end to mistakes and bottlenecks that are causing frustration, stress across the team, conflict, where people get kind of digging at each other and feeling that people rather than process are the issue? What would it feel like if you felt confident that you were doing a great job of supporting your employees' well-being and growth, and that you were doing what was needed to help them both enjoy what they're doing in the job, but to grow up their career and thrive as individuals? What would it feel like if you could consistently finish work on time and be 100% present for your friends and family after work, in the evenings, at the weekends, on bank holidays, on your longer holidays? What what would it mean if you could actually take a 2, 4, or 6 week uninterrupted holiday without anything nagging at the background? And what would it mean if if you could be in a position where your business can't operate without you, which means that you can take holiday, but it also means that you can do other important. We had life things. We had one customer who lost a family member, and it meant that they could take time to grieve and support their family. We've had examples in our own business. We identified the opportunity of AirManual while running SpiderGap, but had got to the point where SpiderGap was running so well without us, we were able to take on a whole second business. It means that should a opportunity to sell your business or move in a different direction comes up, you can do that without guilt or any restraints holding you back. So what would that feel? And then not only for yourself, but what about other team members out there? So my example today was the biggest life-changing goal for me. It is about some of the pain points it's causing me, but actually it relates more to one of the other business leaders, to Alexis, and about the challenges he's doing. So where are the opportunities for other people? So how can it help you? How can it help other leaders? What would be the impact for the team? What would be the impact for your family? So with all those questions, with all those people that could be impacted, where is there something which is kind of nagging on your conscience that if you fix that, it would change your life dramatically for the better?
Love that. Fantastic list of questions. And I think, as we go into a new year, it's a common and good time to be reflecting on where on the answer to those questions and where you'd like to improve, set out that focus, and as you say, go through the steps that we've discussed earlier in the episode on how to actually make progress on those. As mentioned, we do provide a free call with one of our consultants to unpick some of these things, because often when we talk to business leaders, it's like you're too close to the problem, right? And we experience it ourselves. You know, we're no different. Even as experts in this area, sometimes we're too stuck in the detail to kind of see it ourselves. And so it's really useful to have someone asking you those questions. It's why coaching works so well. Essentially, that's kind of what you're getting as part of that discovery call, is a series of questions from a experienced coach and consultant who based on past experience of working with other business leaders, can ask you the right questions, give you the right prompts to help you really crystallize and clarify what are some of the challenges that you've got, and then pick, which are the ones that you're going to focus on and so on. So do make use of that. You can arrange a call at airmanual.link/discovery. That's airmanual.link/discovery to go and arrange a call, or you can go via our website at airmanual.co, and then there'll be buttons and things that talk about arranging a call, so you can follow those. Fantastic. Well, as regular listeners will know, we run a weekly webinar on how to free up 15 hours per week and remove the constant stress of running a business without slowing down growth. We're continuing them in the new year. I've actually updated some of the content and structure and so on, so it's even better and going to be getting even greater feedback. Typically they're every Wednesday at 1 p.m. UK time. But sometimes we have to shuffle it around, so you can find out more and register at www.airmanual.co/webinar. Now, a final note for our podcast listeners: as a new podcast, we do need your help. Please, if you found the content today valuable, just take 1 minute just to leave an honest review. This will help the podcast get more visibility and help more people. And if you're consuming this on social media or have found it via that route, please do like, repost, subscribe, share, all those great things. It makes a huge difference to us and allows us to do more of what we're doing. So thank you very much. Otherwise, until next time, have fun.
Yeah, we're not going to get an outro jingle today. Our podcast platform has let us down. So let's go. Do 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 do. All right.
Beautifully done.
Until next time.